What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. I am a mindset and women's empowerment coach. And today we are talking about making time for play. Do you remember what that was like? Yeah, it's very important. It's very important. And we're going to talk about why as we go through the show. We're also going to talk about, some things that hold us back and all of that kind of stuff. As usual, in the third segment of the show, I would encourage you to have a pen and paper handy because we are going to be making some sort of steps on how to bring this into your world. How to remember because a lot of us, it's been a long time. It's been a very long time since we embraced that playful side of ourselves. So there's a bit of a theme going on the last couple of weeks, if you've noticed, and it's going to carry on a little bit as we move forward. It's sort of about the states of being that we are embodying and how we can be more purposeful about doing that. It's gonna be great. Like, I'm having so much fun. I'm so glad that you're with me today. I love doing the show. I love sharing some of this stuff, and I really like to have fun. In all honesty, I really like to have fun. All right, so today we are talking about this making time for play. And on Time to Rise and Thrive, we talk about your subliminal soundtrack. We talk about getting it to work for you rather than against you. And we talk about recognizing your unique beauty, your value, and the contribution that you are to the world. So let's get right down to it. Do you remember what it was like to play? Do you remember? With everything that's been happening in the world, especially the last year and a half or so, there have been a lot of restrictions. And for many of us, that's meant a lot less play, a lot less fun, a lot less joy. How do we change that? How do we change that? We are going to talk about that today. Are you ready? Yes, yes, yes. I am so excited. Okay, so I'm going to tell you just a wee bit about who I am and why I'm here. And then we're going to get into the subliminal soundtrack. And then we are going to get into the meat of this topic. So stick with me. It's going to be good. All right. So, why am I here? Why do I do this? I am a women's empowerment coach. I'm a mindset coach. I work out of my home in London, Ontario, and I have been doing this kind of work. I just actually thought about this the other day. For about 6 years, I have been doing this kind of work in sort of a part time way. I am working on making the shift from my current career or my current full time thing into this as a full time business. I love doing this. It's all about in my work getting that mindset shifted around because here's the subliminal soundtrack thing. We have this loop of messages that plays in the back of our mind all day, every day, and when those messages are positive and supportive of us taking chances, of us reaching our goals, of us pushing toward our relationships and our money that we really do desire, then we're basically unstoppable. And that is the fact. Whatever you believe to be true will be true for you, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. So if you believe that you are capable of creating a career that you love, the money flows that you love, relationships that you love, work that you love, all of that kind of thing, a home that you love, everything, if you believe that those things are possible, those are what will show up in your world. That is what you will create for yourself. You will bring in the people, the situations, the circumstances that allow for that to happen. So that it's so very important for us to get clear on this messaging. Okay. The statistic I think is 60 to 80,000 thoughts go through our minds every single day. So that works out to about 50 per minute, and that's pretty fast if you think about it. I can't identify 50 thoughts that are going through through my mind every minute, and that just really proves that it's going on in the background. So we're not really aware of what's happening most of the time in our own minds. Isn't that fascinating? So when we get purposeful about creating messages that propel us toward the things that we choose, the things that we actually do desire, when we get purposeful about doing that, then those things sort of naturally show up because the opportunity might be there, but if you're not in a space where you can see it, then you're not likely to take action. Do you see what I'm saying? This is very important stuff. I love working with people, especially with women. I love helping them to sort of pull things apart and look at what's really there, and then we can start to heal it if necessary, or even just shift it. Sometimes we don't need to do a whole lot of work around the healing. Sometimes it's literally about a mindset shift that causes us to perceive things differently, because your perception is everything. Everything, how you view yourself, how you view the world around you, the contribution and the value that you bring to this world, how you view those things is going to affect how you show up. So this is why this work is so satisfying for me, and it brings me so much joy. It brings me so much joy to see people breaking through their limiting beliefs, breaking through the things that have held them back for years sometimes. It's a wonderful thing to do. And I'm so gracious or grateful that this is my path. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for the show. I'm grateful for you being here. So let's get into this. So subliminal soundtrack. How does this relate to play? Now, Kim is my producer today, and her and I were speaking just before we went on live. And one of the things that we talked about was this sort of natural lean toward the serious side. This is something that I think happens for a lot of us. We get to a certain age where we're supposed to be grown up, and we have this idea or this perception of what that means. So if it means that you are supposed to be serious and logical and responsible and all of that kind of stuff, then we tend to lean toward being more serious and logical. And we can sort of shut down this side of us. We can shut down the playful part of us. Okay. So, again, your subliminal soundtrack affects what you believe. But if you believe that this playful side of you is, it's a natural part of who you are, that life is supposed to be fun, that there is supposed to be joy, that happiness is a thing that you can have at any time that you choose it, then you are very likely not only looking for opportunities, but creating those opportunities for yourself to have more fun, to have more joy and more play. You'll bring in the people who are able to be in that kind of yummy fun space with you. You'll bring them in, because here's one of the things that happens is people are attracted to fun and joy and play. They are naturally. I will never forget. I'll share with you one really quick story before we get further into this. There was a group that I was part of at one point, and I remember one night we went, like, I think weekly. We had a weekly evening meeting, and I showed up at this meeting, and there was a person standing on the other side of the room, somebody that I liked, somebody that I enjoyed, and we'd been spending time together and whatever. And I walked into the room and I walked over to her, and we started talking about whatever it was that we had been up to that was fun and playful and silly. And it almost freaked me out. To be perfectly honest, it almost freaked me out, because at a certain point, she had her back to the wall, I had my back to the room. And at a certain point, I turned around, and literally almost everybody in the room had sort of congregated around us. And you know why they did that, right? It was because we were laughing. The energy was fun and light, and I mean, it was a very serious group, but we were doing the serious in a way that still allowed us to have a lot of fun. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's what brings people in. So if you want more fun in your world, start to be a little bit lighter, start to be a little bit more fun. Okay. So the best way to think about this, truly, the easiest way that I can think of to illustrate the point, is think about kids. Think about kids. Think about yourself when you were a kid. Kids are naturally wired to seek pleasure and enjoyment, aren't they? They are naturally wired to turn almost anything into play and into a game. Think about this. All right. So when you get the opportunity to be around small children, we can do the thing where we're serious mommy, and there's nothing wrong with that. So please don't think that I'm saying that. There's nothing wrong with that, and there is a time and place where that is absolutely the right way to go. But how do children shift and show up differently when, we engage with them in a playful way? When we allow them to engage that imagination, when we engage our own imagination, what happens? What happens when we're doing that? I mean, we can make cleanup time or bath time fun, and if we can do that, you're very likely not going to have much of an argument when it comes time to bath time, right? It's this thing where they are naturally wired. And I'm not sure, maybe I'm not educated well enough in this area to understand it. I don't know if that's like a thing that just because they haven't reached a certain age, or maybe it's because they're still pretty new on the planet and they haven't been influenced by all of the things that we have been influenced by when we get to be adult people. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I would encourage you to just like think about those kids. They are open to just about any opportunity to laugh, to play, to have fun. I mean, okay, so think about farts. You don't even have to actually do that to make a kid giggle until they just about wet their pants. All you have to do is make the sound. Do you see what I'm saying? So they are naturally wired at that stage in life to be ready and willing to engage in play and fun and silly. And what would it take for us to embrace that and bring more of that, create more opportunities, whether it's with kids or not with kids? What would it take? So I remember there was a girl that I used to babysit when I was very young, and she had to come to the house because I was so young that I had to have adult supervision. I'm going to say that I was around 10 or 11 years old when I started to babysit this little girl. Her name was Melanie. She was cute as a button. And here's the thing that happened. We were going in the front door of the house, and she slipped or tripped or something, and she fell on her behind. And her immediate reaction was to start crying. Right? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. She fell down. She hurt her bum, whatever. And I will never forget this. There was a big crack on the front porch. There's a great big crack that went the entire length of the front porch. It was concrete. And I looked at her and I looked at the porch and I looked at her and I went, "Oh my goodness, you broke the porch, Melanie." And the tears evaporated into giggles inside probably 30 seconds of playing around with this. Like, you broke the porch. What did you do? So this is the thing. Think back to those times or those places in your world, the people that came into your world maybe when you were a child, that were able to engage you in that playful fun energy. The adults that show up, the favorite aunts, favorite uncles, all of that kind of stuff. The adults that show up as the favorites are usually the ones that are most engaged in playtime with those kids. Think about it. Think about it. All right. So this thing for me was really difficult, and it has been really difficult throughout my life. And this is because of my own subliminal mindset. I had messages that told me again, like I was supposed to be I was supposed to be an adult. I was supposed to be smart. I was supposed to be professional. I was supposed to be responsible. I was supposed to take care of blah 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 blah. All right. Now, here's the thing. If you've watched the show before, you probably know I became a mom at 17. So there was a very real need for me at that stage of my life to become a grown up. And because I perceived those things as being part of the grown up identity, I did not play with my son when he was small out in public. I did not. I put on my I'm a good mom. Again, I'm 17 years old. I didn't know better. Number one. Number two, it was very important for people to think that I was taking good care of my son. It was very important because I was 17 and, on my own, and there were risks. There were risks to a perception that I wasn't a good mom. Very real risks, correct? So I did not engage with him. And I remember one day we were on the bus. I don't know where we were going. We were on the bus and he was sitting beside me in his stroller, and I don't know what I was doing, and he was being pretty quiet, but I saw another woman with her baby on the bus. They were up in front of us. and she was, playing and kissy face and all that kind of stuff and making funny noises, and the child was laughing their head off. It was really wonderful. And that was sort of a shift for me because, hey, this lady can do that. Why can't I? So the mindset is very, very important. We're going to get into some of that. Again, grab your pen and paper. We're going to head to our first break now. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, and we are talking about making time to play. Yay. So stick with us for just a minute. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and today we're talking about making time for play. So we're going to stick with this idea of the kids because it's really easy. It's really easy to make that jump and the shifting. So let's talk about what can be created by this energy, by being in this space, by just taking the time to enjoy life and be silly, because life doesn't have to be so damn serious. I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be. So when we tap into this energy, what we're doing is we are shifting ourselves into our right brain, and our right brain is the creative side of ourselves. Okay. The right brain is the creative side of ourselves. It is also the place where the generative stuff, the imagination lives. So think about the imagination portion of this just for a second. Do you remember when you were little? And what did we believe? We believed that Peter Pan could fly. We believed that animals could talk and sing and dance. We believed that maybe that there were fairies or, leprechauns or so many different things. We believed that anything was possible. Okay, that's magic. When we believe that anything is possible, we are stepping into magic. Do you see what I'm saying? And what can you create from there? Could you create maybe a more comfortable home or family unit? Could you create an easier workplace? Could you create a career that is, doing things that are joyful? What could you create? This is the thing. The sky is truly the limit. When we are operating from imagination and possibility, the sky is the limit. You can create whatever you like. If you're willing to do what's necessary and what's required to get there, you can create anything that you choose. How wonderful is that? When was the last time that you actually allowed yourself to consider that, even for a second? When was the last time that you allowed yourself to play with that? So when we shift from the right side of our brain, or I'm sorry, into the right side of our brain, what we do is we shut down that monkey chatter that's constantly at us, telling us the rights and the wrongs and the shoulds and the shouldn'ts and the all of that kind of stuff, and what we need to be worried about, and what we need to be concerned about, and what we can't do, what isn't possible. Do you see what I'm saying? So that monkey chatter, that left side of our brain is constantly going whatever it's saying to you. And again, that's getting into your subliminal soundtrack. Are you smart enough? Are you pretty enough? Are you strong enough? Are you creative enough? Are you all that kind of stuff? Because those are the kinds of messages that we can get really stuck on. I'm not smart enough for this. I'm not pretty enough for this. I'm not whatever enough for this thing to show up in my world. And I promise you, if you are living in a space where you believe that you are not, fill in the blank, whatever it is for you, you are not that thing that will allow something to show up for you, it's not going to show up. And it's not going to not show up because you're not. It's going to not show up because you believe that to be true. Okay? So we need to get clear. We need to pull those messages out, and we need to shake them and come up with a new truth that actually supports. Of course you're pretty enough. Of course you're pretty enough. And just as an aside that I wasn't actually going to talk about today on the show, but just as an aside, it's fascinating to me how many of us, particularly women, and I know that there are men out there that struggle with, body issues and stuff too. So I'm not discounting that, but it always amazes me how hard we are on ourselves. I was watching sort of a documentary biography last night about Audrey Hepburn. Now, if you don't know who she is, Google her. She was beautiful. She was a movie star back in, I don't know, the 50s and 60s. I think maybe it's earlier, maybe it's later, whatever. But she was just stunning, stunning to look at. And it was so fascinating because at a certain part, even though she was gorgeous and she was a fashion icon, it came to a part where they were, I think they had somebody read out some of her journals, or I don't know, maybe it was an interview. I'm not sure exactly where this came from, but she was expressing that she wished that she'd had, more of a curvy figure. She wished that she'd had a different nose. She wished that she'd had a different, so on and so forth. And like so hypercritical when everyone else on the planet was looking at her and going, oh, wow, beautiful, beautiful woman. So again, perception is everything. So getting back to our topic with the play. So when we get into this space where we believe that anything is possible, where we believe that we are deserving of things, where we believe that, we can create, there's magic. When we believe those things and we get into that space, the ideas flow easily. It's amazing how I've got friends that I engage with, for brainstorming and stuff like that. And the ones that we can get into that playful place where there's no holds barred, like literally we are going, what's possible and what could we create and how will we do this? And what would we need to do? What steps, what training, whatever. It is absolutely amazing, the ideas that go back and forth and the energy that's involved in it. It just makes you excited. It makes you feel like, oh yes, this would be great. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's that playful thing. Get into a space where you're engaging with your imagination, your creativity, your magic, and anything becomes possible. Isn't it wonderful? It's wonderful. Okay, so um what can we use, or what can we do with this? Like, what could we create? What could you create financially in your relationships, in your career? What could you create if you allowed a little bit more of this play to come in? So, when I was getting ready for the show this morning, one of the things that I kept on thinking about was there were specifically two teachers that kept coming into my mind. One was Mr. Inman, and he was grade 5 or 6, I can't remember which. And one was Mr. Krizak, and he was at grade 9 and 10 English. These guys are permanently tattooed on my brain and in my experience because they were so amazing at engaging with their students. Now, Mr. Inman was really, very, very sort of serious, nerdy kind of computer guy. Like I think he was actually the first one to bring the computers into the school, in all honesty. So he was kind of that guy where like it's very technical and it's very, and yet he engaged with his students in such a way that I don't even know how many years, 35, 40 years later, I'm still able to remember him with a smile. Do you see what I'm saying? So what he would do was, we had spelling. I don't know what they do anymore, but we had this spelling book that we could take home or use in school or whatever. And every week there was a new list of spelling words. So the deal was this: if you on Monday, because he'd give us a spelling test on Monday, and if you got all of the words spelled perfectly, then you were allowed from Tuesday through Friday to take that spelling period and go to the library, and you could create any project that you wanted as long as you wrote a report. You could study anything you wanted. You could study penguins or stars or geography or whatever you wanted, and you had to create the report. That was the deal. So, what do you think I was doing all weekend? All weekend, I was studying my speller. So, when I walked in the door on Monday, I would get perfect so I could go and, blow off spelling class in the library. And I thought it was the greatest thing. I probably wasn't there for more than a few weeks in the full week of the spelling class throughout the week, right? Or throughout the year, I'm sorry. So he was creative. His creativity caused me to take that spelling book home with me on Friday and study over the weekend. And it also created a new opportunity for me to study and learn about something that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to study and learn about if I hadn't taken that spelling book home and studied over the weekend. Do you see what I'm saying? How brilliant! How brilliant was that? Mr. Krizak, this man, I will never forget when we were studying Shakespeare and he actually jumped up on like one of those like boom, and he's on top of the desks, and we're studying Shakespeare, which is, it's sort of hard to understand the old English and all that kind of stuff, but he jumped up onto a desk and he actually like acted out whatever the scene was with the voices and everything. I will never forget that. And it made learning Shakespeare easier because it was about this. He's not reading it in the old English where the words don't quite make sense to our new English brains. He was actually showing us physically what and the intonations and that like he was brilliant. So this is what I'm saying. The teachers who are really gifted at engaging with their students and helping them to learn in a different way are so gifted. We are so fortunate to have these people working with our kids. And I will never forget either one of those men. I mean, if you happen to know either Mr. Inman or Mr. Krizak that taught in London, I really wish that you would pass on to them that Jackie Mott says hi and still thinks of them fondly. So that's the thing. So we learn through play. Okay. And I want follow me on this. I know it might sound like a bit of a stretch, but follow me on this. When we're teaching our kids ABCs, what do? We sing a song. We sing the ABC song, right? And when we are um, teaching them like anything, it is so great when we can turn it into play because it helps to anchor the learning. When my son was really young, we moved into, this place or that place or whatever the case may be. And I remember the one apartment, um, he would play outside. So I made sure play outside with the other kids that lived in the building. And so I made sure that he knew our address. And I did that by making a little song. I made a little song. I put it to a little tune that I came up with in my head. And he remembered the address because all he had to do was sing the song. Do you see what I'm saying? So anytime that we can attach a play component to our learning, we are going to anchor it. We're going to anchor it. When my son was learning how to add, I had this container of noodles and I would pull that out and I would pour the noodles on the table, and that this was sort of a playtime. Or when kids are learning using building blocks or learning their animal sounds or anything like that, we do it in a playful way, partly because their comprehension is what it is, and also because on some level we understand that if we make it playful and fun, it will stick. It will stick. What does a cow say? Do you see what I'm saying? What does a cow say? And then we go, oh, good job. We make it fun. We make it playful. Again, if you make bath time fun, your kids are going to be running to the bathtub when it's when it's bath time at night. All right, so we're going to hit our next. Oh, actually, hold on 1 second. I don't know how I missed this. There's one more point that I wanted to make on this. Laughter is the best medicine. There are studies, my friends. There are studies that actually prove that people's physicality, illnesses, diseases, all kinds of stuff can be cured by embracing this laughter and creating all of the physiological stuff that happens. Think about babies laughing. Think about babies laughing. Isn't that fun? Yeah, like playing with kittens, playing with kids, playing with puppies, whatever it is that makes you feel light and fun. Think about that stuff. And that's how you start to get yourself into that energy. And we are going to get into sort of some steps and how to's in the next segment. So grab that pen and paper. We're going to head to our next break. Stick with us. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the how to. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about making time for play. So to illustrate the point, I'm going to share with you, there is a new program that I've been talking about for the last week or so. It is called 6 Weeks to Sexy. I'm just saying, 6 weeks to sexy. So this is what happens. I'm illustrating a point here, my friends. This is what happens when we embrace that imagination, fun, creativity. All of a sudden, we come up with 6 weeks to sexy. I'm just saying. So it's going to be a 6-week program, clearly. It will be offered in the very, very near future. I can't wait. I've already got it all fleshed out. I just need to get some marketing stuff in place, and then this will be going live. So we'll be playing with that sexy side of ourselves, that playful side of ourselves. So if this is something that you are not really comfortable with or not really sure how to do, please join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really silly and expensive. So it's $400 for the 6-week program, which is unheard of really in the realm that I travel in. Anyway, it's going to be so much fun. We're going to play with that sensuality, that playfulness, that side of you that maybe you haven't really been able to get in touch with for a while, or maybe you've never really gotten in touch with. And if that's the case, I promise you this is going to change your life. It is going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun. So this program came out of a program, a course, a coaching course that I was taking, and I was asked to do some coaching sessions with friends. And this is what we talked about. We talked about getting in that yummy, sexy, what does that look like for you? How much fun can that be? All of that kind of stuff. And that is how this thing was born, because we were in that place of anything is possible, imagination. What could we do here? It just was like, boom, this is what we could do. So join me if you want to play. Oh my God, it'll be a lot of fun. So also I'm gonna let you know that you can reach me by going to www.bookacallwithjackie.com. And if you've got any questions about this or anything else that's going on, if you need some support, you can go there and book a short call with me. We'll have a discovery session. It is complimentary, and we can talk about whatever's going on in your world. It's really important sometimes to have some support, to have a different perspective. So feel free to reach out to me there, book a time, let's chat. It'll be a lot of fun. So again, now we are getting into the meat. We're getting into the meat of this whole thing about making time for play. So what do you do? What do you do? If you were somebody like me who works in the accounting field, and it was very, very important, it was very, very important to be professional, because people wouldn't respect you otherwise. How would you develop a clientele? How would you, whatever, how would you develop a career or a business or whatever the case may be? If people think you're silly, then how would that happen? If you're one of those people who understands what I'm talking about there, here is some really good stuff on how to get started. So the first thing is to remember. Now, I know that there are people out there, who have stories. We have rough stories from when we were little. And maybe at a certain point, some of this started to shift for you. But I would lay money on that at some point in your childhood, you were in this space of imagination and play and fun. So remember that. Remember what that felt like. Remember what you were doing. Were you doing a sport? Were you playing a game? Were you doing some sort of an activity? Were you, playing a musical instrument? What was it that you were doing that brought you that fun, that play, that feeling of this is great. I want more of this, please. Who were you with? So allow yourself to go back and remember the time when this was real for you. Okay. At any point in your life. I mean, if you've had this throughout your adulthood, then good on you. Good on you. A lot of us have not experienced that because we've worn this hat where we thought we had to be so bloody serious. Okay. So remember what it was like when you felt either in your childhood, your teen years, whenever it was. Remember what it was like to feel that way. What were you doing and who were you with? Now, what was it? This is two. What was it about what you were doing that was fun for you? Was it the actual activity? Was it something that you really, really enjoyed? Or, no, I don't know why, but just what popped into my head. I had a friend when I was a little girl, and she would literally, and I'm sure she's not the only little girl, she was the only one that I knew. She would literally stick her arms out and spin in circles. It was, and she would laugh. Oh my God, her name was Nikki. She was my best friend when I was really small. And she would just spin around in circles with her arms wide out and her head up. And it was so much fun for her to do that and for me to watch her because it was kind of silly, right? So, what were you doing? What was it specifically about what you were doing that was so pleasurable for you? Was it that thing where you just didn't have a care in the world and no worries and you didn't have a lot of responsibilities? Was it that? Was it The specific activity, what was it about that thing that made it fun and playful for you? The third thing, are those people or activities available to you at this point in your life, or how could they be available? So for me, I was a baseball girl. I played baseball until I was, I don't know, 16 years old or something like that. I was pretty good at third base. And so it was a big part of my life. It was a big part of my world. And I bought, I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember when it was. I'm going to say 2 summers ago because I think it was the summer just before COVID. I bought myself a glove. I went out and bought myself a glove, and my intention was to go and find like an adult league. They're all over the place. Some of them are just for fun. Some of them are pretty serious. I know somebody who actually plays semi-pro slow pitch, semi-pro slow pitch. He's actually really good. At any rate, so they have all kinds of different leagues out there, and some of them are we're gonna get together and we're gonna play a game or have a practice, and then we're gonna go over to the pub and have a drink and something to eat together and laugh and whatever that thing is. There are so many opportunities that you may not realize are available. So do a little bit of research. Look into how could I bring that thing that I used to love to do that brought me fun and joy and pleasure. How could I bring that into my world? There might be opportunities that you're not aware of yet. So have a look around and see. Talk to the people that you know and see what they know that you don't currently know that could make possibilities available to you. One of the things that I have decided, because for me, there's a reason why I'm doing all of this. Let's be fun, let's play, and that's because I have felt like there hasn't been a lot of that in my world in the last while. So I am creating the shows about let's play, let's have fun, let's be silly, let's be sexy. I'm creating those things because I feel the need to bring that up in my world. Do you understand? So what could you do to create this? There are hopefully going to be opening up in the very near future community centers and classes and things like that. My full intention when that happens is to take 3 new dance classes. So dances that I don't currently know, I'm thinking maybe salsa. Yeah, I don't know what yet, but I'm thinking salsa's on the list. So what could you do to create possibilities for you to play and have fun? Think about that. Look around, check it out, ask people that you know. There are probably things out there that you just haven't heard of that would just tickle that little fancy place inside you that makes you light and fun and joyful. Wouldn't that be nice to bring that into your world? Mhm. All right, so that's 3. Now, number 4 is how could you make the time or the money for this? How could you make the time or money for this? Because, sometimes I don't know, actually, I don't even know at this point, but I imagine that there's probably fees to register for sports. I know there were when I was a kid. I know that my son had fees to register for hockey when he was young. Um, so I'm sure that there's probably some fees. How can you work that into your budget? Is it something, and this can be really simple. This can be really simple sometimes for people because if somebody goes and spends $5 a day on a cup of coffee every morning they've got to have their Starbucks. $5 a day. Well, so how many days would you have to maybe not get that particular coffee or make your coffee at home for you to pay for that class or that registration or whatever it is? It can be easy. It can also be now change. I'm going to like change like the physical change, right? Um I have a funny money. I have a funny money piggy bank on my desk, and that is a place where every once in a while, when I think about it, I will throw some change or a couple of bucks in, or whatever the case may be, and that jar is meant specifically for this is my fun money. This is the place where I'm going to stow a little bit here and there. And if you're like clearing out your pocket at the end of the day with a few cents in change, you would be amazed how quickly it can add up. Now, as far as the time goes, this is where we get into you being a priority in your own life. You are allowed to have fun. You are allowed to do something that is just for you. That is not, serving a purpose for anybody but you. You are allowed that. Okay? So find the help. See if you can. I mean, if you're a single parent or something like that, find another single parent that you can trade off. Maybe they watch your kids while you go and do this class, and then you take their kids for a couple of hours another day while they go do something fun for themselves. Be creative. Now, remember, this is part of it. Anything is possible. Be creative, talk to the people around you, and see what possibilities will show up. It might not be as hard for you to make the time or the money to do this thing that would bring you joy. And I promise you, it is an investment in you, it is an investment in your life. You show up, it really, I mean, okay, let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. We all know those people who don't have much fun in their lives, right? And they show up and they're like, who wants to be around that? But when you show up and you're like, man, life is good, I'm having fun, what happens? People want to be around you. Do you see what I'm saying? So show up as a sourpuss, show up as the person that's light and airy and having a good time. Your choice. It's your choice. All right. So the last thing is very simple. Very simple. Just implement. Take action. You've already done your research. Now you just need to register for the course. Or you need to make arrangements with that other person. This is the day that I need your help, and I'll take your kids on that day, or whatever the case may be. Implement. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Oh, and you can also schedule a party. Like, start planning party. How much fun can that be? I'm going to share some of my favorites with you in the next segment. So we are going to head to our last break. You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. We are talking today about making time for play. So stick with us. We will be back in just a moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to our last segment of today's show on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and today we are talking about making time for play. So, very important point that I want to make. Very important point, okay? So, in your profession, depending on what you do, it might be important for you to appear to be smart and professional, kind of have your shit together, right? It might be very important for that. But it is important also to understand that smart and professional and fun and playful are not mutually exclusive. So it's a very interesting thing because we've talked about this. I do accounting, I do income tax, very serious work, right? I have built my practice with people who come back year after year after year after year, because when they come to my office, we don't do the really dry thing that a lot of accounting people do. We talk, we have fun. I'm so blessed because these people come back year after year, get to hear about what's going on with their families, with their kids. Some of them are going back to school, new careers, all that kind of stuff. And I love it so much. So when they come in, sometimes I'll make a cup of tea. Let's sit down, tell me what's going on, right? I have actually had people say to me that they have never had so much fun dealing with their income tax, never in their lives. And that's why they keep coming back. Okay. So am I smart and professional? Yes, absolutely. Do I do a good job? Yes, absolutely. And I'm also fun and playful. So it's that wholeness that I can encompass. I can bring in that side of myself that is not the dry, super serious person. And I didn't know that for a long time. I didn't understand that for a long time. So, what would it take for you to embrace yourself as a whole being, including the playful, fun side, the sexy side, the like all of it? What would it take, to have that feminine energy, that generative energy, that imagination, that possibility? What would it take for you to bring that into your world? And what could you create if you did? Think about that. Just like tap into my energy right now. What could you create? How exciting could that be? How much fun could you have with your work if you were able to incorporate more of that silly, juicy, fun imagination? And I promise you, the imagination in the accounting sometimes is very important because I have to pull things together in a way, or I have to find things that are hard to find. So the imagination comes into play even there when I allow it to, and that is the key. Okay. So you have to choose. You have to choose which you would like to do. I mean, the fact of the matter, there is no escaping that there are hard things in this world. There is no escaping that there are times that we are going to hurt. There are times when our heart is going to be broken into a million pieces. There is no escaping that. It is simply part of life. But we get to choose. So I know you can't see because the top of the sign is cut off. We get to choose how we want to be in our lives. This sign says happiness is not a destination, it is a way of life. You get to choose. Sometimes we find ourselves in very difficult circumstances, those hard places with sharp edges that we roll around and we cut ourselves on. And sometimes we need to stay there for a little while. Sometimes that's part of the healing process, and there's no way to do the healing that we need to do to move forward and releasing the ugly or the hurt or whatever it is. Sometimes there's no way to avoid being in that space, but you get to choose whether you stay there for a period of time while you work through and you do your healing, or do you unpack and set up shop and live there? That is your choice. That is your choice. All right. So always remember that you always have a choice. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you need help. And again, if you need help with this is what I do. This is what I love to do. So go to www.bookacallwithjackie.com and get me on the phone, man. We can work through that stuff, and you can choose to shift into a place where it's not all hard corners and sharp edges, even when things are hard. And I promise you, when you live by that, or something similar, even the hard stuff's easier. Even the hard stuff's easier. So I mean it. I want you to call. If you need some help, please get in touch with me. I would love to support you. Okay. So that is our show for today, my friends. Thank you so very much for being with me. Quote that I want to leave you with: we did not come here to be serious all the time. We came here to learn and grow, and play is one of the easiest ways to learn and tap into that creative, generative side of ourselves. There will always be challenges, but it's easier to get through the hard times when you live from a space of joy. You always have a choice. What do you choose? So thank you again so much for being with me. I am Jackie Mott. Time to rise and thrive on Inspired Choices Network. We'll be back next Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 whatever Mountain, I think, and 10 Pacific. That's it. Have a great week, guys.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.